Pick six, brought to you by BetMGM. Place your money line, prop, parlay, and same game parlay bets at BetMGM. Download the app today. Please, as always, gamble responsibly. We've got 6 games against the spread. Every week, Mark has got his deuce dog of the week. I will start things off by sending it over to Coach. Utah at Colorado. Buffs favored by 10. Big noon in Boulder this Saturday. The Buffs, we just mentioned, they control the Big 12 and their playoff destiny if they can win out. Rocky Mountain rivals, Utah in town. And we already talked about it. The Utes are probably not going to be in a great mood for this one, Coach.
No, and obviously my feelings for Utah and the coach, Kyle Whittingham, is I wear it on my sleeve. I love the guy. He's arguably the best coach I've ever been around. What he's done at Utah is incredible. I know he's getting near the end of his career, and it breaks my heart to see it going like this year. They took BYU right to the end. I think they cover the spread. I don't know if they win. Good thing I don't have to pick a winner there. But I'm going to pick Colorado's on fire. They're going to be on fire with us there. They have 4 receivers, can play anywhere in the country, arguably the best quarterback in the country. But I'm going Utah because of defense. Will keep this thing somewhat close.
10 a.m. local kick.
Mm-mm.
Better be prepared for that one. That is morning in the Rocky
Get up and
Mountain.
go.
Let's roll. Virginia at Notre Dame. Irish, 22.5 point favorites. I was thinking about this one last night, guys. And Coach, you'll know this intimately. The Irish, they are a national program, right? Their fans are everywhere. And when I say everywhere, we're talking internationally as well. Alumni from coast to coast. If you are a one-beaten Notre Dame team and in contention for a national title, you hear about it. You're not hearing about it this year. Almost kind of like suspiciously quiet in South Bend. And I think if you're the Irish right now, Coach Freeman, you are loving that you guys are under the radar right now while all these things are happening. Everybody's too busy talking about the SEC and the Big Ten. And here's Notre Dame, right? Had that big win over Texas A&M to open up things. Had that stunning week 2 home loss to Northern Illinois. And everybody jumped off the train. Since then, the Irish, 7 straight wins. Of those victories, only one of them, guys, was a 1-score game. So they are doing it in convincing fashion. You want a convincing win? How about last week? How about the fact we don't even mention Notre Dame, Florida State? Like I'm stunned by the fact that there was no conversation leading up to this game. And here's why. 52-3 was your final. That is how bad Florida State is. And maybe that's how good.
1-8?
Like, awful. Just to quote Coach, awful. Maybe a double awful. Yeah, Florida State, you are awful.
And this is hard to say. I watched them on film.
Pounding them.
They might be worse than their record.
To 3.
They might be.
They are worse than the record. Who'd they win? Who'd they beat?
Hold on, we're talking about Notre Dame, not Florida State, right?
Okay,
Florida State, everybody's already piled on them. They're done. They're done. Let's talk about Notre Dame. A bit of a hit early this week. Their stud defensive tackle Howard Cross ruled out with an ankle injury, out for the game, but now not out for the season. Virginia, they got a big upset win over Pitt last week. They now remain 1 win shy of bowl eligibility. But we talked about that big spread. I think it's too big. I like the Irish to improve to 9-1, but I don't see them covering against Virginia. This one is interesting in Big Ten country. Oregon, 14-point favorite on the road, Mark, at Wisconsin. Just 2 regular season games left for the top-ranked Ducks this week. It's their last road trip as they go to Madison.
They go to Madison, and I just expect Oregon, who's gotten better and better as this season has went on. They just gotten better and better. I expect them to dominate and control the physicality at the line of scrimmage in this game. This Wisconsin defense has struggled to generate pressure. In the last 4 games, they have 4 sacks total. And if Dylan Gabriel, when he gets a clean pocket, he is lethal. Look at these numbers when he kept clean in the pocket this year. 80% completion rate, 17 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And like, we've talked about him being a Heisman contender. I think I looked at the odds. He's kind of falling a little behind Genty and Travis Hunter. So this could be a Pat Staten game for him. But I'd also look for a heavy dose. I said they're going to control the line of scrimmage. I look for a heavy dose of Jordan James and Noah Winningen for the Ducks. Wisconsin has the 2nd worst rush defense in the Big Ten, 165 yards per game, and just gave up 329 yards to Iowa. So, like, I could see Oregon having a huge game. And it's just, for me, it's just hard for me to see where Wisconsin offensively can even remotely keep up with Oregon. So I like Oregon in this game. I think this team is on a mission. They're extremely well coached with Dan Lanning. They continue to improve. They continue to get better. It's hard for me to find an advantage for Wisconsin in this game. I see Oregon going and continuing their dominance in Madison.
I tried to find an advantage for Wisconsin for you, Mark, because you triggered something in my brain. I went to the weather app, and I did this for the Notre Dame game as well, and my second game. And the weather this Saturday across most of the nation is going to be fine, right? Like,
Yes.
you could say to like, hey man, if it's snowing in Madison, maybe I'm going to start changing things. But right now it's saying a high of 53, low of 40 in Madison, cloudy. So it doesn't look like weather is going to
even so. It gets cold in Oregon.
It's a wet cold. It's a wet cold.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the A's. No, Coach, I'm going to you. Guess who's on top of the SEC right now? The Longhorns back on top of the conference. They are 13.5-point favorites, but Coach, they are at a tricky place, Arkansas.
Very tricky place. I've been there. Mark, you ever been there?
Yep.
You played out Arkansas?
Played there twice. I snapped on them too, about $140, a couple TDs.
People forget Arkansas was the epicenter, one of the epicenters of college football years ago with Darrell Royal and no, not Darrell.
Darren McFadden.
No. At some point, Texas, man, I've been picking you for 2 years to win this thing. I mean, that's how good and respect I have their players. I respect their staff. That is a great place.
Them, Coach.
Yeah, I think they're you can swing for them to be, other than that freaking stumble that they had against Georgia. That when you watch them play, they are excellent football team, and they had that bad loss. So I'm going Texas to cover the spread. Here's a couple things: elite defense. Arkansas has given up a lot of sacks. There's going to be a lot of tackle for loss. I just think Texas knows what's coming. They got a good head coach, a good staff. I think they're going to swing really hard, and they're going to start trying to make statements. It's tough to do it there, but I'm going to have them cover the spread.
All right. ACC, Clemson favored by 10 at Pitt. And the Tigers, guys, remember, given some life over the weekend in the ACC, they're trying to claw their way back into the championship game of the conference. They beat Virginia Tech last week. They saw Miami lose, which for the moment has Clemson in second place, right behind SMU in the ACC. This is interesting, guys. Their last conference game of the season, they close with Citadel and South Carolina. So if you're Dabo Swinney, you have to take care of business. You have to win this game and then hope, and it's a big hope right here, that SMU loses twice or Miami falls once.
Wow.
The Hurricanes, they own the tiebreaker over Clemson. So Saturday, Clemson in the Steel City. Pitt 5-1 at home this year. The Panthers, remember that exceptional 7-0 start. Since then, they've dropped 2 in a row. Their freshman quarterback, Eli Holstein, getting the feeling that maybe he hit the wall if he hit the numbers. The Bama transfer, last 4 games, just 2 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions. He's taken 8 sacks. His completion percentage, this is what's worrisome, down to 56%. Remember I was telling you, Mark, I was looking at weather across the Midwest and the East Coast. It doesn't look like it's going to be a factor in Pittsburgh as well. I like Clemson winning, covering, and then cheering against whoever the heck Miami is playing for the rest of the season. To the SEC, Tennessee in Athens taking on Georgia. Bulldogs, Mark, favored by 9.5, and Georgia has won 7 straight meetings in this series, and all of them by double digits.
All of them by double digits? Is that why they put the hook 9.5 right there?
The little hook, man. They love them hooks.
But let's talk about Georgia for a second, man. Georgia didn't just lose to Ole Miss. They got dominated. They had 10 points on offense. They had 3 turnovers and allowed 5 sacks. The defense gave over 6 yards per play. How will Kirby get this team to respond after just getting belt to arse? How will they respond after just getting belt to arse? You know what I mean? Because they have no more room for error if they want to make this playoff. Carson Beck. I'm the one that's been believing in Georgia because I'm like, he has to get off the struggle bus. 4 straight games of multiple turnovers, 5 total touchdowns, and 10 turnovers in the last 4 games. And he isn't. And this isn't like a get-right game for him. Tennessee defense is like really good. They're the only defense in the country that held every opponent under 20 points. They're top 5 in the country in scoring defense, total defense, third down defense, and red zone defense. And they have one of the best pass rushers in the land in James Pierce. Then you talk about their quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. He got a little bit. Yeah, you know your boy is right. Yeah, he got a little banged up last week, but he's supposed to be okay. And we know he can run the ball. We know he can sling it. But if Tennessee wants to win this game, I feel like they're going to have to lean on Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson. The Vols have the number one rushing attack in the SEC, and he's just playing at a very high level. So I expect kind of like a low-scoring game, defensive-driven game. And just based on their defense alone, I think Tennessee can keep this game close. And so that is your Deuce dog of the week, and I feel good about this one. Sometimes I don't feel good about the dog, but I feel good about Tennessee going into Georgia. But hey, what do I know at the end of the day? Because Georgia has their backs against the wall playing for their college football playoff lives right now. Yeah. So they could come out and, play like they did versus Texas and just be dominant. But I'm going with the I'm going with Tennessee to cover 9.5. I'm going
this Carson Beck on the struggle bus thing is fascinating. Like, he can't get off. They keep driving by his stop. It's like that Uber driver that you're in the back seat. You're like, no, I'm right here. Stop. Well, you just missed the road. Why? No, not this exit. What are you doing to me? Like,
I'm not sure in my lifetime if I've ever seen such a fall from a first round potential draft pick.
Heisman
and turnovers. You see the team looks awful right now. And it's just, they're not awful.
He's not getting any help from his receivers, but it's like the receivers aren't throwing the interceptions consistently either. So I'm the one that's been the believer in Georgia. Like, I've been giving them the benefit of the doubt. I've been saying Carson Beck is going to overcome the adversity, but hey, he hasn't. So
always remember when you see an interception too, this is great it's a 50-30-20 rule, Mark. Do you remember that, Rob? 50-30-20? When a quarterback throws an interception, quarterback.
Yep.
Misread, poor throw. Then you got 30% was on the receiver.
Tip ball.
It's a drop, run route, run leverage, and people forget about leverage. It's the receiver's job to get leverage on the defender, not the quarterback. Yeah. The quarterback throws the ball. If someone beats him inside, beats him outside, that's on the receiver.
Yeah.
And then 20% is on the O-line or something happened. The ball gets tipped. The O-lineman gets trucked. The tailback gets beaten in pass protection, and the ball gets hit. So it's 50-30-20 rule, and that's held up for 30 years. I remember starting that years ago.